All right, we're going to look at marginal distribution and conditional distribution. This is 12.2. We're going to use the example in the book on page 642. The data is here. Records of employment and level of education. So first you have to put in the data. We're going to use GeoGebra and the NCEI Inspire. First we'll use GeoGebra. It's nice to label it. You don't have to, but then you know exactly what you're looking at. So first, marginal distribution of a variable is a frequency distribution first. So that's page 64, that's 643 page we're going to do first. So it's just frequency. We add up the tables. And remember to do that on GeoGebra equals sum parentheses, and you can just highlight what you want to add up. And sometimes it'll actually do it. And because we did it this time, we can just drag these down and it does all these rows as well. Notice this was B2 to E2, B2 to E2. Well, when I dragged it down, it went B3 to E3, or B4 to E4, because I went down a row, so it does the same thing the row over. Doing the same thing for our columns. For some reason, we need to type in equals twice, and again, we can do the same thing going across. Now, for the total, the number of things in the table, you do not want to add up the row and the column because it'll add it twice. So again, equals sum, this. Not sure why we have to type this in, and there it goes. So these four numbers add up to 187,043, and so do these three numbers. So that is our example on page 643, the frequency distribution. We can do the same thing on the TI Inspired. The label isn't as nice, unfortunately. Sum, and then it is A1 to D1. And I'm hoping we can do the same thing. Yes. We scroll over and do it for equals sum A1. Again, that's obviously column A, row 1 to A3. Luckily on this one, we don't have to select or put equals several times for whatever reason. And we can drag this over as well and just do it all up. If we want to get the sum of all of them, we can either add the column or the row, but we get the same number. So again, the tough part with the Inspire is that it's not labeled. We're not sure what we're labeling here. So we got to be careful. All right. If we want to do relative frequency, this is page 644 of the example, relative frequency for each column, each row. We can do this very simply. It's just going to be equals, and it's that number. So row or column total, now we're doing the column total, divided by that sum that we had before, 187,043. So that's the total in the table. So this whole column adds up to 15%. This is the table on 644. Again, drag that over. If we were to drag it over here, it should equal 1 because all of these add up to the whole thing. Now, I don't think we want that. If we're doing the same thing for our column, it's equals, click on this cell, divided by 187,043, and now we get, oops, I want one more. No, I don't. That is what I want. So these are for each row. And again, we saw that it added up to 1. Back to GeoGebra, same thing, equals this divided by 187,043. Do the same exact thing, highlight. Now again, of course, it's labeled, and if we want more decimal places, we have to change it under rounding. So suppose I want 4 decimal places, and then same thing here. 187,043. Again, this is for each row, this is for each column. Obviously, all three of these add up to 0.1. All four of these add up to 1. Sorry, not 0.1, but 1. So that is page 644, relative frequency. Now, if we want to do, and we'll get rid of that, because we're going to go back to the last thing, conditional distribution lists the relative frequency of each category of a variable given a specific value. For page 645, they want to know the conditional distribution of employment status for each one. So for back in GeoGebra, we want each of these for one of these. So we'll be adding down, and we should have a total of 0.1 at the bottom. So in other words, what that means is I want this divided by this. I want this divided by this. This and divided by this. Figure out a quicker way to do the conditional distribution, but right now we're going to have to do it by hand. So again, divide all these by that number for each row. Hopefully our tables are not that